Going back to Kamala Harris, she went today to give a speech at the same location where Donald Trump gave his last speech before the Capitol was stormed on January 6 in 2021. And of course, they try to say it was the insurrection, etc. Now, she started off by saying, look, what we really need in America right now is to do away with the division.
America, for too long, we have been consumed with too much division, chaos, and mutual distrust. And it can be easy then to forget a simple truth. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. It is time to stop pointing fingers. We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and division.
The conflict, the fear, the division, it all has to go out of the window, which is why in the next breath she brought up the fake insurrection again.
We know who Donald Trump is. He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people in a free and fair election.
I mean, please, you cannot, in the first instance, say we have to do away with the division and the fear, and then say that Trump sent an armed mob to the Capitol, even though he had pleaded with people to be peaceful. She is flat out lying, and like much as we'll get to Walz and all this stuff about the Trump being a Nazi in a minute, but they try to sell themselves as we can't have the division anymore. We've got to unite. We've got to bring America back. But then they go straight to the grab bag. Trump is Hitler. Trump tried to stage an insurrection. He's a fascist. He's a threat to democracy. I mean, that's a great version of just not having the division, isn't it? I mean, it's just shameless, we've got to stop pointing the finger. And then she went on to use terms like Trump is a petty tyrant, he's a wannabe dictator, he's obsessed with revenge. I'll go to the White House with a to-do list, he'll go to the White House with a to-get-you list. It's just absolutely shameless, and they don't even pretend or apologise.
But that's all they've got. And I tell you who hasn't gotten Kamala Harris's new memo about, we're going to clamp down on the divisive stuff. Now we are the uniters, and we are bringing the country together, and that's our message to the American people. Her VP running mate, Tim Walz, does not seem to have gotten this change of heart memo from the Harris-Biden administration. Because here he is, earlier this week, same old shtick, comparing Trump's Madison Garden rally, which was ginormous in New York, once again comparing it to a Hitler rally, because he once had a rally in Madison Square Gardens too.
Donald Trump has descended into madness over the last few weeks. And I think some of you don't miss on this. Go do your Google on this. Donald Trump's got this big rally going at Madison Square Garden. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden. And don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
Speaking of descending into madness, this is what the Dems have come to. It's like, do you drink water? You know who else drank water? Hitler. That is how desperate they are. That is how grasping at straws this campaign has become. Now, after the Madison Square Garden rally, Tim Walz was asked again, do you still back that up? Now that the rally is done and dusted, nothing bad happened, plenty of Jews were in attendance, people of all kinds of shapes and colours and nationalities that certainly would not have attended a Nazi rally were there. It was a packed house at this rally. Do you want to maybe reconsider your comments?
You stand by that comparison, though, to a Nazi rally?
Look, the rally, you saw it for yourself. I'll let the American public make the decision of what they saw.
What about you, though?
So I know what I saw, and I'll just leave it at that.
I know what I saw, and it was obviously a Nazi rally, like I said it would be. So Hitler wasn't actually at this rally all those many years ago, but there was a Nazi rally that took place at Madison Square Gardens, and that is how these guys are running with this nonsense. Well, it's a copy-paste scenario. I mean, you've seen it there for yourself. couldn't back it up with a single example of how this might have had anything to do with or resemble in any way said Nazi rally. He just says, well, I know what I saw, and I'm sure people watching saw it too, and we're supposed to know what he's referring to.
Can I ask you, James, you're a big fan of Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Billy Joel has performed at Madison Square Garden, has he not?
Which really worries me. Was that a Nazi rally? I've seen the New York Knicks play at Madison Square Garden.
And do they drink water?
Nazi rally?
Do they drink water? Because Hitler drank water.
But I mean, speaking of people not getting the memo, it gets even worse, right? As if Walz talking about this being a Nazi party at Madison Square Garden, then Joe Biden ups the ante even further and literally calls half the country garbage.
Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Now, of course, Donald Trump had a brilliant retort to that.
Remember Hillary? She said deplorable, and then she said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable. That didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? But he doesn't know. You have to please forgive him. Please forgive him. For he not knoweth what he said. These people, terrible, terrible. Terrible to say a thing like that, but he really doesn't know. He really, honestly, he doesn't. And I'm convinced that he likes me more than he likes Kamala.
Donald Trump being very gracious there. Joe Biden ends 50 years in public life by describing half the country as garbage.